Today, we dismantle the liar's toolkit, not with aggression, not with accusation, but with something far more devastating: calculated composure and strategic silence. The person who lies to you believes they hold power. They believe they control the narrative. But power in human interaction is never about who speaks the loudest. It is about who maintains frame. And when you understand the psychological mechanics of deception, you do not merely catch a liar. You dismantle them entirely. Step 1. Stay calm. Liars feed on your reaction. The liar's first weapon is your emotional response. When someone fabricates reality, they are not simply telling an untruth. They are performing. They are watching you, measuring you, calibrating their next move based on how you respond. Your anger validates them. Your frustration gives them data. Your visible disbelief tells them exactly which part of their story needs reinforcement. The Stoics understood this principle deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action, that what stands in the way becomes the way. When you allow emotion to govern your response to deception, you become the impediment to your own clarity. You cloud your judgment. You surrender the higher ground. Calmness is not passivity. It is precision. When you remain composed in the face of a lie, you deprive the liar of their most valuable resource: feedback. They cannot read you. They cannot adjust. They begin to question whether their performance is working. And in that uncertainty, the first crack appears. Think of it this way. A liar operates like a boxer throwing punches, waiting to see which ones land. If you flinch, they know where to strike again. But if you stand unmoved, they begin to doubt their own strength. They begin to wonder if you know something they do not. This is the psychological shift you must internalize. Your calmness is not a lack of action. It is the most powerful action you can take. It transforms you from a reactive participant into an observer. And observers see everything. The next time someone lies to you, watch what happens when you do not react. Watch their eyes search your face for confirmation. Watch them add unnecessary details, unprompted, trying to fill the void your silence creates. Your composure becomes a mirror, and liars hate what they see reflected back. Calmness strips the liar of their script. It forces them to improvise, and improvisation is where lies fall apart. Step 2. Ask for more details. They will freeze and manufacture more lies. The lie is always less detailed than the truth. Truth is textured. It contains sensory information, emotional nuance, small inconsistencies that come from genuine memory. A lie, by contrast, is a sketch. It has just enough detail to seem plausible, but lacks the depth of lived experience. When you ask a liar for more details, you are not interrogating them. You are inviting them to paint a picture they never actually saw. This is where the cognitive load of deception becomes unbearable. Psychologists have long studied the mental effort required to maintain a false narrative. When someone tells the truth, they recall. When someone lies, they construct. Construction requires energy. It requires them to keep track of what they have already said, to ensure consistency, to monitor your reactions, and to fabricate additional layers in real time. By asking for specifics, you exponentially increase this load. Ask them what time it happened. Ask them who else was there. Ask them what they were wearing. Ask them what was said immediately before and immediately after the event. Each question is a thread, and when you pull enough threads, the fabric unravels. Notice what happens in their body language. The pause before they answer. The slight upward gaze as they access the imagination rather than memory. The over-elaboration. The addition of irrelevant details meant to make the story feel more real. Liars do not simply freeze because they are caught. They freeze because they are calculating. They are running simulations in their mind, testing different versions of the story to see which one holds up. And while they calculate, you observe. The beauty of this technique is that it appears innocent. You are not accusing them. You are simply curious. You are engaged. You are giving them exactly what they want, your attention, while simultaneously tightening the noose. The more they talk, the more they reveal. The more details they invent, the more contradictions emerge. And contradictions are the tombstones of lies. Here is the deeper insight. A liar must create a coherent universe from nothing. You simply have to notice when the physics of that universe do not align. You do not need to prove they are lying. You need only to let them prove it to themselves. Ask them to explain. Ask them to elaborate. Ask them to walk you through it one more time, slowly, and watch as the story shifts, bends, and ultimately collapses under its own weight. Step 3. Stay silent. Silence makes liars sweat. Silence is the most underestimated weapon in human communication. We are conditioned to fill silence. We perceive it as awkward, as uncomfortable, as something that needs resolution. But silence is not empty. It is pressure. And under pressure, the unstable breaks. When you ask a question and then remain silent, you create a vacuum. The liar expects you to respond, to challenge, to give them something to work with. When you offer nothing, they are forced to confront the weight of their own deception. This is a principle rooted in negotiation, in interrogation, in every discipline that understands human psychology. Silence shifts the burden. It makes the other person responsible for filling the space. And when a liar fills that space, they almost always overcompensate. They add details you did not ask for. They justify statements you did not question. They repeat themselves, rephrase, try different angles, all because your silence suggests you are not convinced. The philosopher Blaise Pascal once observed that all of humanity's problems stem from our inability to sit quietly in a room alone. The liar, too, cannot sit quietly with their lie. They need validation. They need your reaction. And when you withhold it, their internal discomfort becomes external confession. Consider the mechanics of this. When you remain silent after someone speaks, you create what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. The liar knows they have lied. They are now watching you to see if you believe them. Your silence suggests doubt without confirmation. It is the worst possible position for them. They cannot defend against an accusation that has not been made. This technique is particularly effective after asking a clarifying question. Ask them to repeat a specific detail, and then say nothing. Just look at them. Let the silence stretch. Do not nod. Do not smile. Do not give any indication of your thoughts. What happens next is fascinating. They will begin to interpret your silence as skepticism. They will start to panic internally. And in that panic, they will often provide information that contradicts what they said earlier, or they will become defensive without provocation, which itself is an admission. Silence is also a form of respect for yourself. It signals that you are not desperate for resolution. You are not in a hurry. You can afford to wait for the truth, because you know it will surface. This patience is power. The liar, by contrast, is desperate. They need this conversation to end on their terms. They need you to believe them so they can move on. Your silence prolongs their discomfort, and in prolonging it, you amplify it. Master the silence. Let it work for you. Let it expose what words cannot. Step 4. Ask unexpected questions. A liar's script will collapse. Every lie is a script, and scripts are linear. The liar has prepared for the obvious questions. They have rehearsed the sequence of events. They know where the story begins and where it needs to end. What they have not prepared for is disruption. When you ask an unexpected question, something that does not follow the logical flow of the narrative, you force them off script, and off script, they are vulnerable. This is a principle borrowed from both psychology and game theory. The prepared mind can defend against anticipated attacks. But introduce randomness, introduce variables they did not account for, and the entire structure becomes unstable. Ask them about a peripheral detail. Ask them what happened 2 hours before the event they are describing. Ask them what they ate that day. Ask them who they talked to afterward. These questions seem minor, but they require the liar to construct additional context they never bothered to invent. The reason this works is rooted in how memory versus fabrication operates. Real memory is associative. One detail connects to another organically. You remember the coffee shop because you remember the conversation, because you remember the song that was playing, because you remember how you felt. Fabrication does not have this web of connections. It is isolated. The liar has constructed the main event, but they have not built the surrounding world. When you ask them to step outside the main event, they have nothing to draw from. Watch what happens. They hesitate. They say they do not remember. They deflect. Or worst of all, they invent something new on the spot. And now they have two fabrications to maintain instead of one. The unexpected question is a surgical strike. It bypasses their defenses because they did not know to build defenses there. This technique also reveals confidence versus deception. A truthful person can pivot. They can handle tangents because their story is not a performance. It is simply what happened. The liar cannot pivot without risk. Every deviation is a potential exposure. There is a deeper layer to this strategy. By asking unexpected questions, you train the liar to fear your next move. They realize they cannot predict what you will ask. They cannot prepare. And in that realization, they begin to unravel preemptively. You are no longer just a listener. You have become an unpredictable variable in their equation. And unpredictability is the enemy of control. Use this. Break their rhythm. Ask what they did not expect, and watch the script crumble. Step 5. Ask, "Are you sure?" 2 to 3 times. They will panic and assume you know the truth. This is the final blow, the psychological crescendo. By the time you reach this step, the liar is already destabilized. They have navigated your calmness, elaborated under scrutiny, endured your silence, and scrambled through unexpected questions. They are exhausted. Their cognitive resources are depleted. And now you ask the simplest, most devastating question in human communication. Are you sure? The first time you ask, they will say yes. They will try to sound confident. But something shifts. You have introduced doubt into their own mind. The second time you ask, the confidence wavers. They start to wonder if you know something. They start to replay the conversation, searching for the mistake they made. They begin to question their own performance. The third time you ask, they break. Not always with a confession, but with visible panic, with over-justification, with anger, with deflection. And all of these responses are admissions. They reveal that the pressure has breached the surface. This technique works because of a principle in psychology called the illusion of transparency. When people lie, they already feel exposed. They already believe their deception is more obvious than it actually is. By repeatedly asking if they are sure, you amplify this illusion. You are not telling them you know they are lying. You are letting them convince themselves that you know. And that internal conviction does the work for you. There is also a strategic brilliance to the phrasing. "Are you sure?" is not an accusation. It is a courtesy. It gives them an opportunity to correct themselves. It frames you as someone offering them an exit, which makes their continued insistence feel increasingly untenable. The repetition is key. Once is a question, twice is doubt, 3 times is a declaration. It tells them without words that you are certain they are lying. And when someone believes you are certain, they often collapse under the weight of that certainty, whether it is real or not. This is Machiavellian in its elegance. You have not revealed your hand. You have simply held your ground. And in holding it, you have made them believe you hold all the cards. The panic that follows this technique is not manufactured. It is genuine. It is the psychological equivalent of a dam breaking. They have spent the entire conversation holding the lie together, and now they suspect it is about to be exposed. That suspicion alone is enough to destabilize them. What you do with this moment is up to you. You can let them confess. You can let them dig deeper. Or you can simply walk away, knowing you have seen through them completely. The truth is, you do not need their admission. You need your own clarity. And by this point, you have it. The deeper truth. You are not destroying the liar. You are revealing them. Here is what most people misunderstand about deception. A lie is not destroyed by confrontation. It is destroyed by exposure to its own contradictions. When you follow these 5 steps, you are not attacking the liar. You are creating the conditions under which the lie cannot survive. You are calm, so they cannot use your emotion against you. You ask for details, so they must construct more than they can maintain. You stay silent, so they must fill the void with their own unraveling. You ask the unexpected, so they cannot rely on preparation. And you confirm repeatedly, so they convince themselves you already know. This is not manipulation. This is clarity. The person who lies to you has already chosen to distort reality. You are simply refusing to participate in that distortion. You are holding up a mirror and letting them see what they have built. And here is the final insight, the one that changes everything. When you master these techniques, you do not just learn how to expose liars. You learn how to protect your own mind from accepting false realities. You learn to value truth over comfort. You learn that silence is strength, that patience is power, and that the person who controls their reaction controls the outcome. This is Stoicism in practice. This is the discipline of perception. You cannot control whether someone lies to you, but you can control how you respond. And in that response lies your freedom. If this resonates with you, if you recognize the power in these principles, subscribe, not for the algorithm, not for the notification, but because you understand that clarity is a skill, and skills require refinement. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who has been manipulated, gaslit, or deceived. Give them the tools to see through the fog. The truth does not need defense. It only needs patience. And patience is the weapon the liar never sees coming.